Welcome to the MBD podcast, a show where we dig into what's actually working or not when it comes to scaling businesses. And today's guests have definitely been there. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves to everyone, where you're at, where you're going, and where you've been.
So I'm Summer Layton. I am founder of Habit Med Spa and Facial Bar, and we are located in Richmond, Virginia, and we have been in business since 2017.
From Lexie. I guess officially the chief operating officer, but a fancy title for basically in charge of all sales and marketing and everything that kind of happens under the roof of day-to-day operations. And I work really closely with Summer, who founded the brand and the business.
Awesome. So when you guys look to try and scale the med spa, what are areas of opportunity that you really look at to try and focus on to help build it up and overcome and prevent failure?
I think the first thing we look at though is we don't really look at failure as failure. We look at it as growth because it's an area of improvement of where your business is lacking, and trying to figure out where it's lacking is part of that. We are very strategic about our plan and how we execute and operate in order to prevent that failure. So when we're talking about scaling, right? So right now we're looking at scaling can be multiple different things depending on what you're talking about. But for the sake of habit, we're looking at potentially more locations. For us, it goes all the way down to researching the area to make sure that we're vetting the area and that the numbers and incomes in that area support what we're looking for without doing proper, research and having your operations and everything in place. I mean, we literally have a checklist of things that we go down with, what Summer's looking for when she's looking at growth on that side of the company, different things that I'm doing with the providers to get them to grow as well and scale. It really comes down to checks and balances and making sure that we are really breaking it down, especially on the number side, because that's going to fulfill whatever it is you're looking to scale.
The other part too, I wrote an entire paper on failure, a whole essay, and I published it, but it doesn't get a lot of views. But so I have a lot of thoughts on failure. But I look at failure as a means of opportunity and growth. And I think it's inevitable when you go to start a new business or even when you pivot in your business. So when I consider failure, we would not be growing or thriving or successful if we didn't experience small failures along the way. I mean, some failures are big, like if you invest in a piece of equipment and it doesn't serve you well and you have a huge loan payment, like that is, somewhat irresponsible. And then you are most likely going to fail if you don't approach it right. But I think in the bigger picture, failure is inevitable. And I think it's necessary so you can really use it as an opportunity to grow. And from an operational perspective, it's really important because it really is an opportunity to take a closer look at your business and see where you have the opportunity to improve. It really kind of shines a huge spotlight on what you're doing right or wrong.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things overlooked is that people look at failure with a negative connotation. But in order to run tests, there needs to be failure. Without failure, there's no success, right? So like you could change the word to just testing, and then now you've changed the whole mindset that people could take into account versus using failure, where it's like, no, I'm testing this out, it didn't work. So, but what we did find was this: is there is opportunity everywhere. So yeah, first, right? How do you perceive failure? Because some people can't handle it, and if they're a business owner, they're going to have a tough time. And then also going back into the ability to find other locations. Now, in order to get to that point, did you guys dial into where you're at now? Did you set metrics where you're like, okay, we want to get to this point with what our current location is? At some point of domination within the area, and then we're going to start looking at different locations that we can branch out based on what you're saying. The most important part is making sure there's market feasibility in order to go into a certain geo, right? Like if you're gonna have a storefront, like there needs to be the people there to support it. So
Yeah.
is that kind of how you guys went through that?
It's very different. So when you have a brand new business that
Mm,
has never operated before, you've never had a brick, and you are looking at locations, what you look for in a location is very different than what you look for in a location when you're established at 3 years or 5 years or
Mm.
7 years or 10
Mm-hmm.
years. So for me, when I was looking at locations when I first opened back in 2018, it was important for me to be in an area where there were a lot of like-minded businesses, where there was a walkability factor, where the demographic could support the services. And while that is still important, I think our brand has had years to establish itself, and we've won awards every year for multiple different areas, and we've really established ourselves as a leader in the skincare industry. And I know that people are looking at us across the United States and maybe either trying to duplicate what we've done, or they're looking at how we've done it. And we've gotten calls for, hey, can you mentor me? Can you give me advice? And
Yeah.
so now when I look at a location, I'm looking at things a little bit different than when I was just getting started. Some of the things may still be the same, such as like your demographic and the businesses that are close to you. But now I look more in depth of, all right, like what does it look like 3 miles out, 5 miles out, 10 miles out? What does the competitive landscape look like? And then are there businesses that will help support that client flow into ours? So, for example, we don't want to be next to a Hand and Stone because they offer facials, even though it's not their primary service, but we would much rather be close to a Pure Bar or a Solid Core or some sort of niche-based fitness studio. So it's just it depends on if you're established or if you're brand new, the things that we look for. But what we look for right now would be, what are the businesses close to us? What does the landscape look like within 3 years or 5 years? Because a lot of centers, whether they're new or established, they'll have long-term plans in terms of how they plan to develop those properties.
Yeah.
And that could impact you positively, or it could be a negative impact. And you really have to know, just from an economic standpoint, like what that looks like and how it will impact your business.
That makes sense. Yeah, you need to know what's going on and where things are going, because they could just tear it all down, and next thing you know, you're left with housing development. You're like, well, I was targeting businesses because I get the foot traffic during lunch or after work.
Right.
So
on the flip side of that, Summer is looking at all that for the opportunity and growth and everything. And then on the inside of the business of like our location now, you're asking about numbers and metrics and things of that nature. I mean, we have metrics of where we know if they're bringing in a certain amount of revenue, them being the providers. I have it broken down of like, this is how much it is for the month, all the way down to this is what I need your average ticket to be. So they have something that's focused on this is what they're trying to increase. It's a very bite-sized piece, but if they increase that, organically everything else increases. And so very much the two of us work very close together, because while she's focusing on that externally, internally I'm focusing on this, and then they marry each other, if that makes sense.
does, yeah, you got to bring everything together. Otherwise, one side works, the other doesn't, won't
Yeah.
work, So having them both work together, and plus the stuff that you're looking at, the micro adjustments in order to make sure that profitability is there, and understanding what, retail products flow and what services are the most successful and what the upsell is, right? Like you could look at who's working there and be like, hey, you're not upselling anything. Why? You come in, there's no sales. That other person's in, there's sales.
Yeah.
So you've looked, you've identified your location. I'm sure. And then, so what's the next step? You got your location set. You're like, I want to go after this. What are you doing to acquire that location? How does that process look?
You mean,
So you found an area, right? Like you're like, oh, we're going to go over here. This business center has what we're looking for, and we want to get in there. So now, how do you find which spot to lease? So you're looking for, is it street facing? Does it face certain businesses in front of it? Like, because like I see this with hair salons. Like someone will get a chair and it'll be in the back somewhere that no one can find. And they don't get any foot traffic. But then on the other side of it, this person's always busy. It's like, well, yeah, they see that person. You're in the back. They don't know you're there. So I'm wondering if you see something. It's different when you've got an established brand because people are searching for you and they see and there's brand affinity. So I'm wondering, what do where you're at now? What are you looking for within a location outside of identifying demographic and forecasting
I think
future?
people are asking like it's almost like our build out brand. Like we're very much like big windows, open area,
Hmm.
lots of light, lots of space, like a very like welcoming. You know, our brand inside of Habit is it matches our Instagram, very white, bright, welcoming, very clean aesthetic.
I was
So
looking at it as well. This question can go either way.
yeah.
Like, do you want advice and the how-to on how to approach the lease, or like, do you want to be that technical, or are we talking more like big
Visual
picture?
or
More visual,
So
not exactly, right? Like you find a location, then you got to go. Some people use a broker, or some people try and do it themselves, right? Like acquiring the spot is looking more at, okay, how what are you looking for within the spot? Like, and you say you're looking for big windows. Like, are you going to go in and do a bunch of construction to get it to look the way you want, or is there something that you have in mind that it just kind of has to check these boxes versus doing a build out?
we definitely have a list of boxes that we have to check in every location.
Hmm.
So lighting is super important. The business around us are super important because we want to have that traffic coming in and out organically. Um, how we use a space, we go in every single time and we're always doing like a full build out and we're really making it speak our brand from every direction.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of things we have failed at along the way and haven't done right, or maybe not right, but we would do things differently in future spaces. And we learn as we go and we try to be very intentional as we look to expand. But I would think that for me, when I'm looking at spaces, the most important aspect of the space I'm looking at is how easy is it to find and what does the lighting look like? And it's that simple. If
and the demographics.
Yeah, the demographics, all of the data behind it is one thing. But when I look at space, I'm looking at, okay, are we going to be easy to find? Are we going to be hard to find? We're always going to be easy to find. What does the signage look like? What is the traffic pattern? Where exactly is it? Because if you're off of the main corridor and yeah, your brick and mortar may not be facing that main corridor, but once they turn in, it's like bam, right there. It's easy to find. Like
Yeah.
it's not always necessary to, be visually in your face like a Target is, for example.
Hmm.
Like when you go down a main corridor, like you're going to see like Target and Home Depot and Lowe's and Chick-fil-A, and you're going to see all these big names. But we're really looking for lighting. We're looking at how the space can be created internally to really speak our brands. And then we're looking at how easy is it to find and what's the traffic pattern, what's the walkability pattern. So those are the things we look for.
Got it. So you've identified the area, you've identified the location, now you've built it out. Now, do you try to mirror the store that or the Medispa location that you have as far as setup, or do you look at different ways to structure it so it's a more unique experience, or are you trying to keep kind of similar experience with how people go into the different locations?
Definitely, this we like to keep our experiences pretty consistent.
Hmm.
Every space will have its caveats, and you have to do things slightly different from space to space. But generally, we're really big on making sure our spaces are consistent, similar, and our trade dress is the term is on point at every single location. So
Hmm.
there's no mistaking, oh, that's a
Yeah.
Habit med spa and facial bar. So yeah, but every space is slightly different.
You
Yeah,
kind of build
for
it out
sure.
in places.
Hmm. Got yeah. Okay, so now you got your location, it's built out. You know, you've got that similar feeling across the brand that keeps people wanting to come back. And now you're trying to get people into the door at the new location. So, what are some techniques that you found to generate some market awareness and get some people like you a lot for, okay, we're going to take a loss for 3 to 6 months in order to build clientele with different promotions? Or are you have specific tactics that you found success, or have ideas that you think you'll implement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so with the locations that we're looking at going into, we've actually studied and we already have clients in that location that are traveling to
Mm.
us. So organically, we are already going to have um, clients coming to those locations. I know that without a shadow of a doubt based on our data that we have on our current clientele. The other side of that is that it's very strategically marketed. So when we do get an opening date, we start targeting ads in that specific area with like-minded interests in likability, through meta of what our clients typically are and how we target our ads now in our current location. We have this really cool thing that we have decided to do with all of our locations of kind of like a founders promotion or anniversary thing. Summer did it when she opened this location. 12 hydrofacials for $1,200 every year on the anniversary. We offer some form of that package, and it's just like a really fun thing that I think that we honor every year based on the amount of years that we've been open. Obviously, it's not the most profitable, but it's a wonderful way that we celebrate and honor that, promotion and opening date of the location. Marketing wise, it's not like a huge, we've built such a brand. What we do is absolutely wonderful. Every location, we have a $99 first time facial for anybody who walks in our doors that have never seen us or had a facial before. And it's a wonderful entry point where that facial, yes, it's not my most profitable service when you break it down into numbers. However, it's the biggest um, it's the biggest relationship builder with the client. They come in, we do a full consultation. They get to know the provider, we get to know them. They make extensive notes. Most of the time, a lot of them have never actually ever had a facial. So it's absolutely wonderful to be able to build the relationship with that. So all the new locations also will have that. That's offered all the time. So in terms of like, we don't have this huge overbearing marketing plan that rolls it out. Our brand's very well known. We have a wonderful website, wonderful social platform. We'll do target marketing, through our Meta and Facebook ads and stuff. But I also have providers who work this location will also be going to the other locations as well. So I'm very confident in our brand and everything that we do. That I think I know that my team is very good at what they do. We're very good at what we do, and we deliver an experience that I don't have to overcompensate with this massive amount of marketing and paid marketing to get people in the door.
Yeah. The other thing too is that, from a very like simplistic side of things is we do have a marketing plan 6 to 9 months ahead of time. So as soon as we kind of know what that timeline looks like, we have an opening date kind of on the books. What we do is we put together a marketing plan, whether that's email, social media, running some targeted ads. And we use that time period to collect as much data as we can collect. Yeah. By building awareness that we are opening in that specific location. And so, we don't overcomplicate it, but we definitely start planning 6 to 9 months out. And I have never opened a location that takes 6 to 9 months to be profitable. Like we are usually, there's revenue coming in from day one. And matter of fact, we do it in such a way where there's revenue coming in before we even open our doors.
So you're strategically tapping into the market before the location is even available, which is smart. Mm-hmm. Do you do, there's a lot of digital that goes on in generating awareness. Have you done anything more traditional, like direct mail, postcards, and flyers around town? No, it's funny. I hear people starting to talk about it again.
No, we've done like little birthday cards that go into like we have a exercise studio next door that they give people when it's their birthday, so they get like 10% off a facial.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Only like print marketing, quote unquote. Yeah. We have little cards that we can give people where they can get 20% off their first facial, which really is like the $99 first time facial. But in terms of like postcards or mailers or things like that, I would love to do birthday cards for our clients, or like our top clients send them like a Christmas card, but we've never gotten there. They get an email, but
the amount of data you can collect now is mind blowing, and it's so impressive. There's old forms of marketing. Like for me, the reach is so much wider if you are very intentional and strategic with your marketing plan. Everything is just so, what's the word? Intelligent now. Like the way all the systems we use, especially now with AI, being everywhere and being implemented into all the different softwares we use, it's highly intelligent where we don't have to do a lot of the things that I used to do. Like, for example, I owned an insurance agency. I worked in the insurance industry for 17 years. We did a lot of mailings. Like mailers were a big, huge part of our marketing plan. And now the reach is just so much wider with how we can build audiences and the different platforms we use. And now it's even better with AI put into all the softwares, because we can really be very strategic about how we market and build our audiences and how we collect that data. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're leveraging AI to help with segmentation and audiences, so that way you can provide more personalized messaging based on that individual user to really connect with them.
Yeah.
Awesome. So looking back on things, what's something that you know now that you wish you knew earlier on?
Oh, I have a long list. The thing that comes first to mind, though, would be really trusting your intuition when it's screaming at you no, but you do it anyway because you think it makes sense on paper. And a lot of times you don't know what you don't know. And if your intuition is giving you that funny feeling in your stomach, it's not like a warm feeling that means go for it. It means take a step back and don't dive head first. And also being quicker to part ways with people that don't believe in your mission and your value system and don't align with your thoughts and beliefs. I probably have held on to people for too long, but those are the two things that come to mind.
But you're familiar with hire slow, fire fast.
Yes. But when you start a business, that's really hard to do because
I know, because
like you have to have employees, and you compromise on things you typically wouldn't compromise on to try to just get through the day and get through the week and get through the month. Finally, 8 years later, I have the most amazing team, and we all live and breathe our mission, and all of our values are aligned. And, at the heart of what we do, we all are just insanely passionate about skincare. And, we all have our why on why we do it and how we came into this, but the end result is, it took a while to build that team, and firing quickly isn't always the easiest thing. You can't always do that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Lexie?
I would say have a plan, know your numbers, and pour into your people. Those would be like my three things. I wish I could go back and like really look at each section so much more. I would say within the last year and a half is when we like really honed in on our numbers. Like we knew our numbers, but I know our numbers now.
Yeah.
And then, create a plan with everything. Summer gave me a book a couple of weeks ago. What is it called? The 12-week?
The 12-week month.
12-week.
Or the 12-week year.
And it talks about making like very reasonable goals for 12 weeks and like break your year up into quarters. What did you achieve? What didn't you achieve? Why are we waiting to the very end of the year to make these things happen? And so we put that in a very much like business framework. So now like my providers have all have 12-week goals. My management team has 12-week goals. My front desk has 12-week goals. I have 12-week goals. Summer does.
12-week goals.
So we look at that, operationally, revenue-wise, marketing-wise, the whole 9 yards. And then on the opposite of that, like even in our reviews we do with employees, like I started asking them in a section, what are your 3 goals professionally and 3 goals personally that you want to hit in the next 3 months or until we meet again, kind of thing. And I try and see, like, most of the time when people aren't performing well, there's something else going on. And I can give them education, I can teach them technique, I can do all those things, but if their heart's not in it and their mind's not here, then there's something else going on. We had one provider who she really just needed to be able to balance work and home better. And we were able to accommodate that, and it didn't affect her revenue. And she's a much, much better provider when she's here. Like when she's here, she's here. And it's things like that I think people, overlook sometimes of, everybody's human. We're all human. And, sometimes when I go to Summer and I can be frustrated about an employee, or I'm like, how do I handle this? And she's like, there's something going on that you don't know. And sometimes it's just sitting down and being like, all right, what's going on? Like, let's have this conversation. And that maybe that's not everyone's style of management, but I've learned that when you do that and you invest in your people, it makes a huge difference. One, how they handle situations with you moving forward, and a different level of respect. And they want to come to work and they want to work hard when they feel that being honored. If that makes sense. So it's not just a job. Like it's truly like these people are our family. Without our providers, Summer and I don't have anything to market a business on. And so, it's easier for me now to, if I have the right person, they're passionate about it, investing in them to help them grow versus fire somebody and get somebody else in. And that's where, like, I kind of don't always agree. I think fire fast if they don't believe in your mission and your values, absolutely. But if they have a mission, the values, and there's just things that need to be guided in technique or something along the way, you can teach that. I can't teach desirability and I can't teach morals. Those are the other things. So
yeah. You're talking about manage up or manage out, right? So like within everything, you've got it someone and you manage them up or you manage them out, right? Like the hire slow, fire fast. The firing fast comes to the managing up, managing out to get into that point. Unless you're like, no, this isn't gonna work. But no, honestly, so
really low turnover, Jason. Like I'm very proud of that. Like I don't have employees that just walk out or that, I mean, I just hired 3 more people and they're like, when was the last time somebody left? I had somebody leave to go to nursing school to further their education. And
that's great. That's what you want.
Like, call me when you want to come back in the summer and then go back to school, and then call me. We keep those connections. I have another one who just moved to Miami to be closer to her sister. I'm like, you hate Miami, you call me. We'll get you right back on the schedule.
Yeah.
She's still in our company group chat because we don't lose those connections.
Awesome. So where can people find out more about what you're doing and connect with you?
Yeah, they can find us on Instagram at Good Skin Habit, online at goodskinhabit.com, and all of our contact information is there. We're very easy to reach, but we're very easy to find. Yeah. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason.